Fantastic set of results. We're looking at profit, first half profit more than tripling. Again, it's really on the rise of the commodity side of things. I'm sure the local currency was a bit of a hindrance, but just looking at the volumes front versus the likes of some of the issues that you experienced during the period, give us an indication of how you came through the last 6 months. We've certainly seen that during the latter part of the 6 months, our volumes increased very significantly. For all the commodities that we're dealing in, we were also able to get significant better prices on the back of the better pricing, but also on the back of delivering the right product at the right place at the right time. We focus on that, and we've probably spent 100 million this last 6 months making sure the marketing is sharper so that we can benefit from the upturn.
You've always had a pretty conservative approach to cash. You know, the company lowly geared so that it's manageable even through the tough times. But you're sitting with a pretty strong cash position at this stage of the game. So run us through, future projects. Let's define your capex program as you ramp up to meet what is rising demand.
We certainly still have a very aggressive growth plan. We've got 3 projects getting into a ramp-up phase as we speak today, with some capital still to be spent on that. We have announced the building of the copper mine in Zambia. That requires significant cash going forward. And we've got a number of very exciting projects still in the pipeline that hasn't been finalized and hasn't been approved. So we see significant capital spent over the next few years on the ore bodies we have, and that will bring a lot of value to the table, we believe.
Let's touch on the copper project, the Nkola North project. You're basically in a partnership with the likes of Vale of Brazil. You've time and time again said that it is a relatively interesting partner. Tell us about, last year you were talking about perhaps another big opportunity coming to the fore. Tell us about that project and how it's moved from the initial phase to where we are today.
That project starts on the ore body in Zambia. The phase 1, or the first step, is building a mine that will do some 45,000 tons of copper per annum. Just to the south of that is another very interesting area that we're still exploring called Area A. The grade is better, and we find the channel width is wider. We're working on that feasibility study. The timing of bringing that to the market, it would require a vertical shaft of about 1,000 meters. So we would probably consider the approval of that project in the next 12 months.
So as that continues, we've got here on the domestic front, group thermal coal sales volumes helping drive revenue up 60%. Of course, we know that the demand is largely coming through from the east at this stage of the game. Locally, we've got infrastructure constraints in the forefront. How are you handling those kinds of scenarios on home ground, where many have said very bluntly that we could well be missing the next commodity boom on the back of those challenges?
Firstly, we've just built a new coal mine together with Xstrata that is online as we speak and producing to its full design capacity. About half the material gets exported and half the material gets sold locally. We've also positioned that to produce a wash and a size project for Eskom, which is a favorite project. Just the other part where we've gained very significantly was on the ferrous, on the iron ore and on the manganese front as well. Is that export go to Saldanha and to Port Elizabeth, and to add to that, we've done a significant amount of that material by road to Durban and to Richards Bay as well, to really take the benefit of the much stronger markets.
What about the fact that, we heard last year that you were planning to sign an agreement with Transnet to transport an even bigger significant amount of iron ore per year. How's that coming along? Have you signed an agreement with Transnet?
What's currently happening, the line is being expanded from 47 to 60 million tons. Out of that, we get 14 million tons. That agreement is in final stages of being signed and approved by the board. Our board has already approved that. The next phase of the expansion that we also have in our results we expect to see the FEL3 or the bankable feasibility study by September this year, and that opens a door for us to do more manganese and hopefully do manganese to Saldanha as well. So that's very exciting for us to be able to grow beyond the point where we're busy now.
Richard, let's bring you in here. I mean, your view on a company like African Rainbow Minerals, because when we talk about the diversifieds, we always talk about the Anglos and the BHP, but some potential coming to the fore here.
Most certainly. I think if you have a look at the way they've turned around earnings, most certainly, what I'd like to ask you is if the world maintains the way it is and it doesn't fall apart, just in terms of consensus going forward for the next year's numbers, type of growth that we could see, because you were coming off a low base, although the results are very good.
If one maybe break up the last 6 months in 2 quarters, then you see it went from 500 in the first quarter to $1 billion in the second quarter. But what one need to keep in mind, we've added a slide to our presentation, what the metal prices was on the 21st of January. Very significant up on the 6 months prior to that. With our coal project ramping up, the nickel ramping up very significantly, iron ore coming into more volumes as well, we are well positioned to do significantly better going forward.
Johan, let's bring you into this. I mean, a company that's sitting with quite a nice pile of cash, around 2.3 billion rand or so. We're looking at a company that is not highly indebted. Some have boded the question that, yes, this company has, of course, embarked on significant capital expenditure and going into new projects. What about a nice dividend for the likes of shareholders? What would you like to see coming through from African Rainbow Minerals on this front?
I must say that I'm also actually keen to hear Andre's view about the dividend, because I think the company is generating quite a lot of cash, and I'm not sure they've got, there's some basically leeway to actually increase the dividend, and just what will be the dividend policy going forward, and how do you actually view actually distributing more cash to shareholders?
Andre, your response?
What we've done since we started to pay dividends, we look at our plan, we look at our needs for the next year by the end of our financial year, and we've actually been able, through the downturn, to increase our dividend consistently during that time. We're in a very strong situation, and we will review dividends when we look at the plan for next year, but we are confident that we want to be a dividend-paying company going forward.
The rand, let's touch on that, because we know that it does impact profits. How do you see that playing out? What are you factoring in from a rand perspective?
If I can just share, in our plans we probably at about 740 for the 6 months period coming now. The rand is probably going to work around 7 rand like we see this morning. But what we do is we actually work in the rand prices and not in dollar prices. But some of the increase in the dollar prices has actually offset what we lose on the rand. So I think we're fairly well positioned from a rand price point of view.